Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sun Moon Audiobook, the channel where we share wisdom and inspiring book journeys to help you grow and develop your best self, inside and out. The ocean is always moving. Even when it looks calm, beneath the surface currents are shifting, pulling, guiding, carrying life from one shore to another. And sometimes, when we feel stuck, when our own life feels like it is standing still, the truth is we too are moving in quiet ways we can't yet see. Change doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it begins with something as small as making your bed. Admiral William H. McRaven knows this better than most. A Navy SEAL, forged through some of the toughest training known to humankind, he spent his life learning lessons that were not about combat or glory, but about discipline, resilience, and the quiet dignity of small acts. When he gave a commencement speech at the University of Texas, his words echoed far beyond that day, carrying across the world, distilled into a book called Make Your Bed. It is a book about hope, about courage, and about the power of little things to shape a much bigger life. But more than that, it is about you and me and the ordinary moments where we are asked to rise when no one is watching. At the heart of McRaven's message is this: the smallest choice can change everything. He begins with the simple task of making your bed. It sounds almost trivial, almost too simple to matter. Yet there is a hidden poetry in it. The bed becomes a symbol of order in a world of chaos. It is the first victory of the day. You finish it, and suddenly the day has a shape, a rhythm. And at night, when you return weary and bruised, your bed is waiting for you. A reminder that you accomplished something, that you cared enough to start right. Think of it like a seed, small, unremarkable, but containing the promise of an entire tree. When you make your bed, you're planting the seed of discipline, and discipline grows roots into every part of your life. McRaven also speaks of failure, not the glamorous kind that gets wrapped into a story of eventual triumph, but the raw, humiliating kind that stings, that leaves you gasping. During SEAL training, mistakes were punished by endless extra drills, long cold swims, sand grinds that pushed every muscle past exhaustion. It was unfair sometimes, arbitrary even, and that was the point. Life is unfair. You can do everything right and still find yourself in the mud. And yet, what mattered was not escaping failure, but embracing it. Learning to keep moving forward, even when the world seemed to single you out. This lesson is not just for soldiers. It's for you who have known setbacks, for you who wonder if you can rise again. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the ground out of which success grows. There is a mantra McRaven returns to: don't back down. In training, recruits were pushed to confront challenges that terrified them, diving into dark waters, leaping from towering heights, swimming through the unknown. The ocean was not just physical, it was a mirror of fear itself. And fear, if left unchallenged, grows like a shadow until it controls every step. To push back, even trembling, is to take back your power. And maybe you too have places where fear has been dictating your choices, whispering that you are not enough, that you should shrink. But remember this: courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. Courage is making the call, speaking the truth, taking the step. Another lesson he offers is the power of standing together. In the surf, SEAL trainees would link arms and sing when the night was coldest, when quitting felt like the only option. Alone, the suffering was unbearable. Together, they found warmth in their voices, strength in their unity. McRaven's words remind us that no one makes it through life alone. You need people. You need community. You need someone's hand to hold when the waves rise. And equally, someone may need you. Maybe today, someone in your circle is barely holding on, and your presence, your words, could be their lifeline. And then there is the lesson of respect. In training, the smallest man often became the fiercest. Size, status, appearance, they meant nothing compared to grit and heart. Life has a way of surprising us with where greatness comes from. Think of people like Nelson Mandela, who from a prison cell shaped the destiny of a nation, or Malala Yousafzai, whose small frame holds a courage larger than armies. Greatness is never measured by surface. It is carved in the hidden places, in spirit, in resilience. There is one moment I will never forget. I once watched a man fail in front of everyone. His hands shook, his body faltered, and the shame on his face was unbearable. But then, slowly, he stood back up. He tried again. And though he failed once more, something shifted in the way we all looked at him. It was no longer about the result. It was about the relentless courage to rise. That moment taught me something I carry to this day. People remember less about your failures than about your refusal to stay down. What McRaven teaches is not a set of military rules, but a philosophy for being alive. To find dignity in small beginnings, to learn from failure, to face your fears, to lean on others, to respect every soul, to never quit. These are not lessons for the battlefield. They are lessons for the kitchen table, the office cubicle, the hospital room, the lonely midnight walk. And you, listening right now, carry within you the strength to live them. You may not feel it yet, but it is there. When McRaven speaks of perseverance, he paints it not as a grand heroic act, but as a quiet refusal to give up when everything inside you begs to stop. In SEAL training, there is a bell. Ring the bell, and it's over. The pain, the exhaustion, the endless trials, they vanish. Many ring it. Many walk away. And yet, those who endure, who grit their teeth and stay just one more minute, one more hour, one more day, discover something extraordinary. They discover they are stronger than they ever imagined. Life has its own bell. It whispers to you when things get unbearable. Give up. Walk away. Numb yourself. Choose the easy road. But here is the truth McRaven passes on. If you refuse to ring the bell, if you endure the storm, you will find a self you never knew existed. And that self will carry you into places you once thought impossible. He reminds us, too, of the necessity of embracing the darkness. In the ocean, during night swims, the water is pitch black, every sound amplified, every shadow a monster in the mind. The fear is primal, overwhelming, but within the dark, something else emerges. Trust, calm, the ability to breathe when everything screams panic. Darkness will come to you 2 nights of grief, seasons of loneliness, valleys of uncertainty. The lesson is not to run from them, but to swim through, to find your breath even when you cannot see. For on the other side of darkness, light is always waiting. One of the most striking ideas he offers is about hope. In training, when morale was at its lowest, when men were shaking from cold, one voice would begin to sing. A song, off-key and fragile at first, would ripple through the silence, and others would join. Soon the entire group would be singing. That song did not warm their bodies, but it warmed their spirits. It reminded them that they were not alone, that tomorrow could be different. Hope works like that, fragile, small, and yet powerful enough to ignite courage in others. You, right now, may need that song, and maybe one day you will be the one to start it for someone else. Think of leaders and figures we admire not because they were flawless, but because they carried hope into the world. Martin Luther King Jr., with his dreams spoken into the darkness of injustice. Viktor Frankl, who in the horror of concentration camps reminded us that we can choose meaning, even in suffering. These people became songs in the night. McRaven's reminder is simple but profound. If you want to change the world, you must be willing to sing when the night is darkest. And yet, his wisdom is not all heavy. It is also practical. Making your bed, starting small, embracing discomfort, showing respect, finding courage. These are things you can practice every day. They don't require fame or rank. They only require presence. Imagine waking tomorrow and deciding that no matter how small the task, you will give it dignity. You will fold the sheet. You will face the meeting. you will call the friend. You will rise after the stumble. That is how worlds are changed, not in a single sweeping motion, but in the steady, faithful steps of ordinary days. Midway through the journey of his book, there is a quiet acknowledgement that resonates deeply. You will face setbacks. You will feel broken. There will be times when you wonder if you are enough, if you can keep going. And the answer, whispered through every page, is yes. You are enough, not because you have never failed, not because you are flawless, but because you continue. Because even in the mud, even with the weight of the world pressing down, you breathe, you move, you hope. This is the heart of the message. It is not perfection that changes lives, but persistence. So pause for a moment. Feel the truth of that. You who are listening right now have already survived nights you thought would break you. You have already endured storms you believed would swallow you whole. And yet, here you are. That is no small thing. That is proof of your strength, even if you cannot see it yet. And if you carry that strength forward into tomorrow, into the smallest of tasks, into the darkest of nights, you will discover that your life has been quietly preparing you for transformation all along. There is a lesson McRaven shares about the mud, the infamous sugar cookie punishment during training. A trainee would be ordered to dive into the surf, then roll through sand until every inch of skin and clothing was coated. There was no way to avoid it, no way to keep sand from chafing and cutting. And once you were a sugar cookie, you had to carry on that way for the rest of the day, cold, wet, and miserable. The punishment was often not about failure, but simply about testing the spirit. Life does this too. It throws discomfort at you for no reason. You get the rejection letter after doing everything right, the illness without cause, the betrayal you never earned. And the question life asks is simple. Will you give up because it isn't fair? Or will you keep going anyway? The sugar cookie reminds us that fairness is not guaranteed, but resilience is always possible. There is something strangely liberating in accepting that the world does not owe us fairness. It means we can stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating meaning right where we are. McRaven's voice carries that quiet conviction. Do the hard thing anyway. Stay in the fight even when the sand grinds against you. For it is not comfort that makes you strong, but endurance. And every time you endure, you discover a deeper layer of who you are becoming. He also speaks of daring greatly, of pushing boundaries. SEALs were trained to tackle obstacles on an assault course. The record could only be broken by someone who dared to take risks, to slide head first instead of feet first, to defy the safe and expected way. This became a metaphor for innovation, for creativity, for choosing courage over caution. You cannot live a remarkable life while clinging to safety. To change the world, or even to change yourself, you must be willing to leap head first, to risk failure, to choose the path that others fear. Think of innovators like Steve Jobs, who was fired from his own company, yet returned with vision that reshaped industries, or Rosa Parks, who dared to stay seated when the world told her to move. These were head-first moments, acts of defiance against the status quo, acts that demanded courage beyond calculation. McRaven's reminder is clear. Safe paths rarely lead to greatness. Sometimes you must risk looking foolish. Sometimes you must endure failure. Sometimes you must go headfirst into the unknown. And then there is discipline in the small. The uniform inspection, the shiny boots, the precise bed corners. These were not about vanity, but about pride in the details. If you cannot do the little things right, you will never do the big things right. The details build the foundation. In your life, it might be the way you answer a message, the way you show up to work, the way you listen when someone is speaking. Small acts of integrity accumulate into character. Character shapes destiny. The world will not always see the details, but your soul will, and it will grow stronger or weaker depending on the care you give to them. There comes a point in his lessons where he reminds us of death, of the finite nature of our days. In training, men were lost. In battle, comrades fell. Life is fragile, fleeting, unpredictable, and it is in knowing this that urgency is born. Do not waste your life waiting for tomorrow. Begin with today. Begin with making your bed. Begin with the phone call, the apology, the bold step. For the clock is always ticking and every moment matters. When the burdens feel too heavy, when the darkness feels endless, he returns us to the image of linked arms in the freezing surf, voices rising together in song. That is where hope is reborn. In unity, in persistence, in refusing to ring the bell. You are not alone in your struggle. Others have stood where you stand. Others have walked through their own storms, and their survival is proof that you can survive too. McRaven's lessons build like waves, each one carrying a rhythm that prepares you for the next. One of the most profound is his insistence that you must be your very best in the darkest moments. In SEAL training, this meant the underwater challenges where recruits swam in pitch black, equipment failing, oxygen running low, panic pressing against their lungs. It was then, in the chaos, that calmness mattered most. Panic was death. Composure was life. Translated into the rhythm of our days, this means that when everything falls apart, when the job is lost, when the relationship fractures, when the diagnosis comes, that is when your discipline, your habits, your faith in the small things sustain you. You cannot control the storm, but you can control your breath. You cannot stop the darkness from coming, but you can choose who you are in the midst of it. And perhaps that is the greatest power of all. There is a softness in his voice too, when he reminds us that greatness is never about size or stature. The smallest man in the training class sometimes carried the largest spirit. Those who looked unremarkable often turned out to be unbreakable. And this, to me, feels like a direct message to you. You may have underestimated yourself. You may have believed the story that only the boldest, the loudest, the strongest can rise. But the truth is, strength is measured in persistence, in courage, in heart. It does not matter how the world sees you. What matters is how you choose to stand when it counts. And so he urges us to lift others up, to be the voice that starts the song in the night, to recognize that our endurance is not only for ourselves, but for the person next to us who may not yet know they can endure. Life is not just about surviving, it is about helping others survive too. Your courage can be contagious. Your persistence can become someone else's hope. Never underestimate the power of your example, even in silence, even in obscurity. There is also the lesson of taking risks. Headfirst dives not only in training, but in life. Playing safe may feel comfortable, but it rarely transforms anything. The leap into uncertainty, the choice to risk failure for the chance of growth, is where true living begins. And though the fall may hurt, it is far better than never having leapt at all. And perhaps the most piercing truth he leaves us with is this: never, ever quit. The bell will always be there, easy to reach, tempting you to stop. But if you can resist it, if you can find one more breath, one more step, one more song in the night, you will discover that perseverance itself becomes victory. Even if the outcome is not what you imagined, even if the prize never arrives, the act of not quitting reshapes who you are. You become unbreakable not because you never break, but because you always rise. So, what does this mean for you, here and now? It means starting small. It means embracing the sugar cookie days. It means daring headfirst into risks and trusting that the smallest details matter. It means singing when the night is dark and choosing to be calm when panic wants to take over. It means remembering that strength is not size and that greatness often comes from the quietest souls. It means refusing to quit, even when the bell seems so inviting. Let this be your mantra, the phrase you carry forward from this moment. Never ring the bell. Whisper it to yourself in the mornings. Repeat it when life presses hard against your chest. Never ring the bell. And know, with each day you hold fast, you are becoming someone new, stronger, braver, more alive than you ever imagined. Every story McRaven tells points to the same quiet truth. The world is changed not by extraordinary gestures alone, but by ordinary people doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. Making your bed, shining your shoes, standing tall in the face of failure, these are not glamorous, but they form the backbone of a life of meaning. Imagine if you began to treat every small act with reverence, as if the universe itself was watching, not out of pride, but out of love for your own dignity. What would shift in you if you saw no act as beneath you, no detail as unimportant? Slowly, you would feel the weight of your own integrity strengthening you. McRaven also shows us that life's storms are not meant to destroy us, but to refine us. Training in the cold surf, mud up to the neck, voices trembling in the dark, the men learned that suffering shared is suffering halved. And this is something you can carry into your own struggles. When the pain is too heavy, when the night feels too endless, look for those to link arms with. And if no one is near, remember that countless souls across the world are singing their own songs of survival. You are not isolated. You are part of the great human chorus that refuses to give up. There is a point where he acknowledges that leadership is not about commanding, but about serving. A leader is the one who lifts others, who shines light when all else is dim, who chooses courage not for applause but for the sake of those who follow. This is a calling for all of us, whether we lead armies or households, or simply ourselves. The true mark of leadership is how you make others braver, kinder, more resilient by your presence. He returns us again and again to the idea of hope, fragile, yes, but also indestructible if tended to. Hope is the song in the night, the breath in the panic, the refusal to ring the bell. It is what keeps us moving, what keeps us dreaming, what keeps us alive. Without it, no bed made, no shoe shined, no detail cared for would matter. With it, even the smallest act becomes sacred, and so we are invited into action. Not grand sweeping changes, but small, intimate ones. When you wake tomorrow, begin by making your bed. Do it not because it will change the world in an instant, but because it will change the world within you. When the day tests you with unfairness, wear the sand with dignity. When fear rises, dive head first. When you fail, rise again. When the night comes, sing, even if only to yourself. And above all, when the bell calls, whisper back, not today. As the message closes, McRaven leaves us with a sense that transformation is always possible. The smallest of beginnings can ripple outward into the largest of changes. You too can create ripples. You too can live a life that whispers strength to others. Picture it. A single stone dropped into still water, ripples expanding outward until they touch every shore. That is your life when lived with courage and persistence. So I leave you with this quiet invitation. Tomorrow, make your bed. And when you do, see it not as a chore, but as a declaration. A declaration that you are here, that you are willing, that you are ready to live with intention. From that single act, let the ripples spread. And as this conversation closes, if these words stirred something in you, if they reminded you of your strength or lit a spark of hope, I warmly invite you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Share your own reflections, your own moments of persistence, your own songs in the night, because your voice matters, your story matters, and your courage might just be the hope someone else is waiting for. This is how the world changes. One bed made, one breath taken, one voice lifted, one life at a time.